Welcome back everyone to our review of every chapter in Kirby Manga Mania. Last time we finished up Volume 1, so we're going to jump right into Volume 2. But before we do, make sure to check out our merch store in the description below where you can buy our hats, mugs, and stickers to enrich your gameplay experience. Without further ado, let's get to the review. Next up is Volume 2, Chapter 1. Everybody wants to be the king of Dreamland? The chapter begins with King DDD walking through town, flaunting all of the stuff he just bought on a shopping spree. Everyone gets jealous and wants DDD to share, but the king declares that due to his royalty, he needs to live in the lap of luxury. Ku questions how or why King DDD even is king in the first place, since he doesn't act like a king. This prompts the townspeople to revolt, and now there is an election for who will be the next king. I don't think that's how monarchies work, but sure. Kirby, Rick, Ku, Kine, and King DDD are now all competing over the title of king. Kirby decides to mess with the competition to make them look lame, putting Ku and Rick out of the race. Kirby and DDD get scared when it seems Kine has the regal spirit, but in reality he just fell asleep. With only Kirby and King DDD left in the running, the king lures Kirby into a meeting room to talk one-on-one. In reality, he's just gonna fight him for it, not expecting Kirby to dual-wield hammers. When they come out, Kirby has crawled inside of DDD's mouth Skinwalker style and says that he's going out of the race. No one falls for this though, and King DDD proves he has more loyal subjects, even though he clearly just bought their affection. Kirby and King DDD constantly one-up each other with stupid accomplishments. Poppy decides to end the nonsense by just leaving it up to a vote. A few people raise their hand for Kirby, and no one raises their hand for DDD. Mostly because Kirby inhaled them all. With that, Kirby becomes the king of Dreamland and gets the entire castle remodeled to look like him. This puts him millions of dollars in debt. When confronted with the bill, he leaves the crown to DDD and lets him be the king to take care of it, ending the chapter. This chapter was pretty middle of the road. The gags were just silly little gags like usual, but it was cool seeing the other characters trying to take the limelight. Plus, King DDD's plans always backfiring is pretty much always funny. Kirby leaving DDD with the national debt was also a pretty hilarious ending. With all of that in mind, Volume 2, Chapter 1 gets my rating of an A. Next up is Volume 2, Chapter 2. Kirby becomes a walking weapon? The chapter begins with everyone visiting the dojo of the judo master, Ju-Kid. It is revealed that King DDD and Poppy opened this dojo in order to get loaded off of Ju-Kid's classes. Kirby, Rick, Ku, and Kine walk in to become students. Kirby almost immediately makes a mockery out of the class by showing up in a bathrobe, pouring sauce on Ju-Kid, and inhaling him out of frustration, becoming Suplex Kirby. Kirby uses his new suplex ability to throw King DDD, winning his match against him. It becomes clear when he goes to shake Rick's hand that whatever Kirby touches, he throws. His body is moving on its own. Kirby ends up hurting all of his friends and, worst of all, can't even eat food without throwing it. Ku tries to feed him but ends up getting thrown himself. Kirby tries to inhale the food himself but just doesn't have the energy. King DDD thinks this is an opportunity for payback, but just ends up getting thrown like the rest. Kirby ends up getting so hungry he goes berserk, throwing everything around him, including the entirety of Planet Popstar. All this throwing makes Kirby throw up Ju-Kid, making him go back to normal, ending the chapter. There's something really funny about Kirby being forced to throw everything while in the throw ability. It kind of feels like it's taking the game mechanic and putting a funny edge on it. I appreciate that about this manga. I kinda just wish it went more places with it instead of ending as abruptly as it did. With all of that in mind, Volume 2, Chapter 2 gets my rating of a B. Next up is Volume 2, Chapter 3. Kirby, Volunteer Thief? The chapter begins with Tak stealing a bunch of things from the town. He decides to make his next hit, Kirby's house. Kirby wakes up when Tak makes a stir because he is getting sleep eaten. Kirby wonders what Tak is doing in his house, and after getting annoyed at his stupid guesses, he admits that he's a thief. Kirby chases after him and goes to take him to jail. Tak convinces Kirby that he's the good kind of thief. He steals things, fixes them and polishes them up, and then returns them. Kirby decides that this is such a noble venture that he's going to help out. This results in Kirby becoming a much more psychopathic thief than Tak was ready for. He bonks Rick on the head, ties Ku up, and almost drowns Tak. After all of these shenanigans, Tak gets so tired that Kirby decides to take over. He immediately gets caught by everyone in town. Tak starts to panic, but Kirby covers him by smushing him in his stone form. Kirby then starts dancing. Everyone asks Kirby if he's seen anybody suspicious, but Kirby diverts them away from a very mangled Tak and himself by pointing them in a completely random direction. Kirby takes Tak back to his house to rest when he sees all of the stuff that's been stolen so far. Kirby goes to return it, believing it to be polished already. As Kirby gets away, Tak starts shouting for Thief, getting him caught by the townspeople. As he's getting beaten up, Kirby bumps into a wall and accidentally swallows all of the stolen goods. Kirby decides to just sleep it off and apologize later. The next morning, Kirby goes to apologize to Tak as he runs away scared, revealing that he gave up being a thief and is just a mailman now. The chapter ends with King Dedede being glad he had no scenes in this chapter, having a peaceful day. This was definitely one of the better chapters. I like when these chapters actually have full stories to them, instead of just being a collection of jokes. Tak is definitely an antagonist that deserves all of the torment Kirby gives him. Also, Kirby fully going along with Tak's lie and making it bite him in the ass is pretty funny. With all of that in mind, Volume 2, Chapter 3 gets my rating of an A. Next up is Volume 2, Chapter 4, Hero Kirby Appears. In an alternate dimension where sword and sorcery reign, a hero is given the task to defeat the Dark Lord. That hero is King Dedede? King Waddle Dee reveals that he also sent for another hero to travel with Dedede. That hero is Kirby, showing up in some pretty cool pixel art, honestly. With that, the two heroes set off on their quest. They encounter Gooey on their first battle. Apparently Kirby decided to play Undertale because he's deciding to do a pacifist run, hurting Dedede for bullying the enemies. Wow, he really is in the Undertale fanbase. Due to this, the only one dealing damage is Kirby, and the only one taking damage is King Dedede. King Dedede wonders how they're going to level up and get gold if they don't fight, and Kirby suggests getting an actual job. This actually works as it levels up their stats and gives them gold to buy equipment. Some of these stat level ups are better than others. King Dedede decides to go get a weapon to go defeat the Dark Lord, but Kirby already spent all of their money on food, leaving Dedede with nothing but a popsicle stick. Dedede decides to gather information from the townspeople to find out more about the Dark Lord, but there's just so many of them. Kirby then inhales them all and says everything the townspeople are saying in quick succession. They decide they need some rest and sleep at an inn. Unfortunately, they have no gold still, forcing them to sleep on the stairs. During their sleep, King Dedede wakes up with a concerning amount of HP. Kirby reveals that he and Gooey stole his HP in order to fully heal themselves. Finally, they make it to the Dark Lord's tower, and get ready to face their final boss. Except Dedede, who has all of the cheapest equipment possible. After solving a multitude of puzzles and beating the boss rush, which just consisted of Kain, Nago, Chuchu, and Ku, they finally reach the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord is Poppy. Poppy, being the kind soul that he is, deems King Dedede better fit to be the final boss, and Kirby defeats him, saving the kingdom. Or at least he would've if he didn't eat their entire stock of food. Another great chapter with a bunch of solid jokes. All of the RPG tropes being turned upon their head by Kirby was fun to read, and never crossed the threshold of just seeming annoying or just telling jokes for joke's sake. Kirby made a mockery of RPGs but kept the story going at the same time, instead of hindering the goals of the plot. With all of that in mind, Volume 2 Chapter 4 gets my rating of an A. Next up is Volume 2, Chapter 5, Operation Kirby Secret Agents. The chapter begins with Poppy handing a videotape off to Kirby. Kirby puts the tape on his TV, and a mysterious figure appears on the TV that totally isn't King Dedede, giving Kirby and his friends their mission. The figure has gained intel that Meta Knight is planning to launch a missile to destroy Castle Dedede and take over Dreamland himself. Their mission is to infiltrate Meta Knight's base and destroy the missile. With that, Agent Kirby, Agent Ku, Agent Chuchu, Agent Rick, and Agent Gooey are on the job. They start to infiltrate Meta Knight's base, avoiding all of the spotlights, only to get immediately caught when Kirby starts singing in the spotlights. This makes it so they must flee in the sewers to get into the base from underneath. Meta Knight sends in his troops to go after them. In order to keep the mission alive, Kirby gives himself up so that the others can continue their infiltration. Kirby is brought directly to Meta Knight, who tries to get him to talk. Meta Knight tries to torture him, but Kirby ends up torturing himself. Meta Knight gets annoyed and throws Kirby in the dungeon. Instead of Kirby trying to escape the dungeon, he ends up just making a living space out of the stuff he inhaled before. Ku and the others break Kirby out of the dungeon, and they find the missile and investigate it. They notice a weird orb on top of the missile and wonder what that is. Meta Knight makes his appearance and reveals that the missile is loaded with pepper. He only intends to prank DDD, making him sneeze and writhe for hours. Meta Knight goes to fight them but trips over Gooey and breaks his mask, making him immediately give up. Trying to finish their mission, Kirby places bombs on top of the missile to destroy it, but unfortunately the missile launches before they could blow up the missile. This causes the missile to land on Castle DDD, blowing up the whole castle. Kirby reports his failure as the chapter ends. Another banger chapter. This volume is doing great so far. For one thing, Meta Knight finally appearing is so good. I love that he's a mostly serious character in the world of wackiness. The part where the others are surprised that the missile didn't have explosives in it and Meta Knight just says, "I should think not, that could kill somebody," was actually legitimately funny. This may be my favorite chapter so far. With all of that in mind, Volume 2 Chapter 5 gets my rating of an A+. Next up is Volume 2 Chapter 6. Kirby joins the self-control dojo? The chapter begins with King DDD struggling to control himself, waiting for his cup of ramen to be done. King DDD is about to cave and eat some crunchy noodles, but gets stopped by Sasuke, who teaches him to exercise self-control. Sasuke makes him wait and shows him how worth it is. They hear someone shout that they can't control themselves, and Sasuke and King DDD go running to see who the source of it is. Of course, it's Kirby. Kirby is having trouble controlling himself, needing to scratch his ass. Sasuke tries to stop him and have him maintain self-control, but Kirby scratches it up against Wispy. Sasuke scolds him and decides to take him and DDD to his self-control dojo in order to learn how to have the utmost of self-control. Sasuke starts showing some of his pupils to our heroes, being able to withstand pains in order to get to the paradise on the other side. Kirby doesn't really get it, but King DDD gets it real fast, being able to watch a 25-hour marathon without falling asleep. Sasuke starts heavily training Kirby when all of a sudden, Rocky shows up, a master from a rival dojo. Sasuke goes to fight him but exercises his self-control and has Kirby do it for him. Kirby and Rocky start competing in bouts of self-control, with Kirby finally coming out on top with his controlling himself at karaoke when someone else picked your best song so now you can't pick it technique. Sasuke congratulates Kirby on his newfound prowess, but Kirby decides to sing his stresses away, which no one can withstand, not even Sasuke. This chapter was just alright. It was funny to see the trials Kirby and King DDD would endure in the name of self-control. Other than that though, there's no real progression in the story to drive the comedy. It's just a bunch of disembodied jokes with a central theme. With all of that in mind, Volume 2 Chapter 6 gets my rating of a B. Next up is Volume 2 Chapter 7. Go for the Gold, the Dreamland Olympics. The chapter begins with Kirby and the others going to watch the Dreamland Olympics. Kirby wants to win a gold medal, but the event he wants to enter, speed eating, isn't at the Olympics anymore. This is when they meet the director of the Olympics, Mr. TikTok. Mr. TikTok reveals that speed eating was banned from the Olympics for being too dangerous. A plasma wisp passing by says that they're going to be late for the String Figures event. Mr. TikTok gets confused, saying that String Figures was cancelled 36 years ago. The Plasma Wisp runs away and they give chase, finding a secret staircase leading underground. Down there, they find an underground Olympics that plays all of the banned events in a sanctioned manner. They find the signups for speed eating, but Kirby just misses the cut. When they hear the announcement for the Funny Faces competition, Kirby gets excited as Mr. TikTok looks horrified at Funny Faces in particular. Considering only 2 people signed up for the event, the finals immediately happen with Kirby going up against Cappy. Mr. TikTok then tells the story of how dangerous the Funny Faces competition was, since he would know from experience. Mr. TikTok made a face so funny that his opponent never stopped laughing for 3 hours straight, and now, whenever he thinks about the face, even for a second, it starts all over again. Cappy then says how he was inspired by the prowess that was Mr. TikTok's funny face skill. This moves Mr. TikTok to the point where he'll let the competition continue, but only if he supervises. After a back and forth of the funniest faces you'll ever see, Mr. TikTok decides it's gone too far and ends the match, leaving it a draw. Everyone congratulates Kirby when it is revealed that Kirby made funny faces for so long that now it's stuck. It is then said that funny faces competitions were then banned from even the Underground Olympics. Ironically, I didn't find the chapter all about funny faces to be that funny. The concept of having an Underground Olympics where the events are all ridiculous banned events is pretty funny, and having Mr. TikTok treat them like they're these uber dangerous activities is even better. It's when the chapter devolves into just Kirby and Cappy making funny faces where it falls off for me. The faces were more terrifying than funny, honestly. With all of that in mind, Volume 2 Chapter 7 gets my rating of a B-. Next up is Volume 2 Chapter 8, a full course on table manners? The chapter begins with Kirby and his friends going to a fancy restaurant. Kirby, being his usual Kirby self, starts exhibiting a bunch of bad manners. King Dedede, who is at the next table, warns Kirby that the chef at this restaurant is a huge stickler for table manners. Kirby doesn't heed the warning and starts inhaling all of the food, summoning said chef, Chef Cookin'. Chef Cookin' tries to show Kirby how to have good table manners, but it just results in Kirby doing a bunch of bad manners in the name of good manners. King Dedede decides to show Kirby just how it's done and passes with flying colors. Chef Cookin' also joins in, showing Kirby just how beautiful good table manners can make the dining experience. Chef Cookin' puts Kirby through a bunch of table manners trials to train him for his ultimate test. At first, it seems like the test is just to eat a normal meal while minding your manners. The catch is that all of the food is horrible. Will Kirby pretend their food tastes good, politely tell the waiter that it's not to your taste and get something else, or get mad and flip the table? What Chef Cookin' didn't expect is that Kirby created a fourth option. Kirby chooses to give honest feedback while still asking for seconds. Chef Cookin', moved by this show of good manners, lets Kirby eat all he wants today for free. You can probably see where this goes. This chapter was, again, just alright. I know it's absurd to want story progression in a gag manga, but having a self-contained step-by-step story will always be better to me than an event that is just a vehicle for jokes, if that makes sense. This chapter, unfortunately, is that. If there is one thing I appreciate about this series is that it sticks to game characters. It doesn't create original characters for the sake of it. At first I thought Chef Cookin' was an original character, but then I remembered, no, this is a dude from Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. I love moments like that. With all of that in mind, Volume 2 Chapter 8 gets my rating of a B. Next up is Volume 2 Chapter 9, the start of the Eraser Shock? The chapter starts on a peaceful day in Dreamland until one day, Kirby goes into the store to get an eraser and they are sold out. Apparently, this is the third store they've been to try and get one. It dawns on them that they must be going through an eraser shortage. It is revealed that King Dedede bought every eraser in Dreamland as a get-rich-quick scheme advised by his new money advisor, Tick. The plan is that since the artisan that makes the erasers in Dreamland is too busy watching baseball to make more erasers, King Dedede is going to buy the entire supply in order to be able to resell them when they are in high demand. Everything goes according to plan to a ridiculous degree. Erasers start becoming hot button collectibles to the point where people, like Kirby, are keeping them in glass cases. The rich are making them a part of their clothes, and people are able to buy an entire house with just one eraser. Tick tells Dedede that this is the perfect time to sell, to make maximum profit, but the king refuses, thinking of how much more value the erasers can get. Kirby starts using his eraser like normal, or at least as normal as Kirby can use an eraser, and everything goes back to the way it was, making eraser's value plummet back down, leaving the king with a mountain of erasers he can't do anything with. Except play dominoes, I guess. Usually I'm not into these gag-filled chapters, but something about this one really tickled me. Just seeing how far this eraser joke gets escalated was pretty fun, and seeing people use it on clothes is mad funny. I'm surprised people didn't do that with toilet paper in 2020. A classic case of good escalation, and the pretentious side of me wants to say a good commentary on perceived value in a capitalist society. With all of that in mind, Volume 2, Chapter 9 gets my rating of an A. Next up is Volume 2, Chapter 10, Eye in the Sky, Kracko cracks down on Kirby. The chapter begins with Kirby starting his day by casually inhaling 38 people. Kirby then gets struck by lightning all of a sudden and told to stop doing that. Kracko scolds Kirby and demands he apologizes. King Dedede shows up and tells Kirby that Kracko has a stick up his ass and likes to ruin people's fun. Kirby then starts being his usual rowdy self as Kracko berates him every step of the way. Kirby gets so sick of Kracko's rules that he decides to make his own rules. First, never skip breakfast. Second, take a nap after meals. And most importantly, the rule so grand that it almost takes up an entire page: no rules that disallow things that are allowed. Well, this chapter was nothing. It was just Kirby doing things, Kracko yelling at him for living, and then Kirby deciding to live free and easy like he always has. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and honestly, barely any jokes. This may be the worst chapter so far. With all of that in mind, Volume 2, Chapter 10 gets my rating of an F. With that, we've reached the end of the second volume of Kirby Manga Mania. Before we end the video and move on to Volume 3, I hope you enjoy another performance from the DUBASSES crew.
Starting today, I shall call you Big Bro.
What brought that on?
Big Bro, let's climb trees. Come on, Big Bro.
All right. Bet you can't beat me.
Big Bro, let's play catch. Big Bro, Big Bro.
All right, let's toss the old ball around. You know, I think I could get used to this.
Now it's my turn to be the Big Bro.
Huh?
Go on, call me Big Bro.
Big bro?
Not like that, like this, with big puppy dog eyes. Big Bro.
Like this? Big bro?
That's not right. How many times do I have to tell you? Pay attention. Big Bro.
This has lost its appeal.
Thank you everybody so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it all the way through. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and hit that bell to never miss a video. Also, we'd like to give a special shout out to Andrew's Retro Games and DMNT for being the greatest, well-esteemed guests of them all. If you want to get a shout out in every video, make sure you hit that join button to become a channel member, where you'll get early access to all of our videos, as well as exclusive emojis for our live streams. Speaking of, we will be live streaming Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with the following games on screen, so if you want to talk to me directly, that is the perfect place to do so. Also, make sure to check out the DUBASSES channel, where we put out dubs every so often. In 2024, we're going to start doing weekly content, so look out for that. With that, I'm Bottles, and I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.